Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, we first introduced you to Lisa Livingston a year ago. She was awaiting sentencing on several drug-related charges. Her fate and that of the Women's Recovery Center she founded was up in the air. Ultimately, a judge ordered her to 30 years. My colleague Brock Turner has been following the story for over a year now, Brock, and that's not where Lisa's story ends.
No, it's not, Joe. Lisa started serving her sentence in March. Her attorneys filed multiple appeals, and it seemed like she would serve her full prison sentence. In October 2017, Lisa Livingston opened the breakaway. Her arrest in 2013 for meth possession was the wake-up call she needed to get clean, and then take it a step further to start helping other women who were struggling with addiction. Since then, 19 have graduated to lives of sobriety. But when she was sentenced, it was unclear whether or not this home in New Albany would survive.
When she first left, I was terrified because I know she's got my back. She's always had my back. She's my biggest cheerleader. And I just know that I made a promise to her that I would do whatever I had to do to keep her dream alive, to keep the house going, to keep the women safe, continue to have graduations as if she was here.
Judges had no choice but to send Livingston to the Department of Correction. Mandatory minimums required it. However, she and her attorney hoped Livingston could serve the entirety of her sentence in a community corrections program away from prison, where she could continue working at the breakaway. That didn't happen. The mandatory minimum was longer than what many deemed practical to serve in community corrections or on house arrest.
It was a sucker punch to the gut, is what it felt like. It truly felt like a sucker punch to the gut.
Her case made headlines because of the work she was doing to help other women through recovery. During her time at the Rockville Correctional Facility in Park County, Livingston's attorneys filed a pair of appeals. Both were thrown out. Livingston says she tried to find acceptance.
I threw myself in church, so I got an opportunity to get to know God and read my Bible. I spent every 10:30 count, and I would get on my knees, put my shower shoes under my knees, and I would stay in prayer until it cleared, which is usually about an hour. There's a lot of people my daughter's age. I'm 53 years old, and there's a lot of people between 25 and 30.
On December 28th, Indiana's Supreme Court changed everything. In a ruling that most observers agree is extremely rare, the state's highest court altered Lisa's sentence and released her from prison. She'd get to go back to community corrections. The move gave Lisa the chance to return to the breakaway.
We didn't even have to argue. I mean, that's pretty impressive. It was filed by brief and ruled on by brief, which is really stunning.
Culotta says in her opinion, the case sets a precedent in Indiana for future nonviolent drug offenders to have their sentences shortened. But Livingston doesn't believe her time incarcerated was without a purpose. While Livingston was in prison, her daughter Lacey overdosed. Paramedics used multiple doses of Narcan in an attempt to revive her, but Lacey's heart stopped. Paramedics performed CPR, and eventually she regained consciousness on her way to a Louisville hospital.
I got to the point where I welcomed death. I know when I came through in the back of that ambulance and I'd overdosed, which had never happened before. It ended up happening when my mom got locked away. I cried. I cried to that EMT, and I said, "Help me, I cannot stop. I can't stop."
For Lacey, that moment paired with a short stay in jail was her breaking point. She enrolled in the breakaway, the recovery home her mom started.
All these emotions that we did not know how to deal with, we're taught how to deal with that. You know, so all these things that I was getting high over and staying high over, I dealt with those things in this house. And the best part was I didn't deal with them alone. I have a whole house full of women that helped me through even the hard times with the fact that my mom was going to be in prison for 30 years. You know, the Miss Janice, the lady that runs this place, she loved me back to life.
After just 6 months in the house, Lacey recently graduated from the 12-step program. While the road ahead might be difficult, both Lacey and Lisa know they now have each other to rely on.
She's a child that I haven't seen for 10 years. And when I know I keep talking about it, but when I seen what this house did for her, I'm just like, oh my God. Because when you see other people do it, once again, and then when you watch your daughter do it and the change that you see in your own daughter, it's amazing. So getting to be there I'm extremely blessed.
And it's a blessing that isn't lost on the woman who kept the house going in Lisa's absence.
I think every struggle was needed, including her being gone for the 10 months that she had to go away. I say that because it gave her daughter the opportunity to come here, focus on herself, and become the woman that she's supposed to be.
Many defense attorneys, prosecutors, and judges I spoke with agree there's more of a need for recovery options across the state. While there's debate about the role incarceration plays, many do agree Indiana would benefit from more recovery options. According to the Indiana Affiliation of Recovery Residences, less than 2% of those in need have access. That translates to more than two-thirds of Indiana counties, many of which are in rural parts of the state, that do not have a facility. The organization says there's currently a need for 66,000 beds across the state.
Brock, great story. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Joe.